Good evening and welcome to the Great Egg Race, the program which tests people's inventiveness, creativity and manual dexterity. Today, instead of the usually variegated selection of props, we have no more than a vast amount of space. Actually, we are in Hall 6 of the National Exhibition Centre in Birmingham. The unfortunate, miserable teams don't yet know what's in store for them. But first, let them introduce themselves.
On my right is Chris Atkinson, on my left is Terry Watts. I'm John Davison and we're from Kidbrooke School.
I'm John Burns-Davis, I'm a shot firer for Henry Corries. This is George Erie, who is a plant fitter. Kevin Kennedy, who is a truck fitter.
We are from Johnson Matty. We are members of a production engineering department. On my left, Jack Blake, production engineering supervisor. Ross Carter, jig and tool designer. And my name is Max Swolf and I'm a planning engineer.
Now, let me start to set the scene. Doors, please. Now, this is all you're going to have. Now, I believe that my fellow judge is inside the red car. Hello, John.
Hello, Heinz. Nice to see you.
Let me introduce Jock Smith. He is, of course, an old stager as far as egg racing is concerned, because he was a winner of the 1980 egg race. He's acted as a judge before, and quite apart from that, he's a chartered engineer. Now, Jock, I believe you've got some information of importance to the team.
Well, I did want to tell them, Heinz, that not only do they get the cars, but they get what's in them, and there's quite a lot of goodies in the boot.
Well, teams, let's see the amount of drive you've actually got. As the teams are unloading the goodies from the boots of the car, they'll find a brown envelope. And the brown envelope will contain the problem which they're supposed to tackle. This is to construct a man-carrying vehicle light enough to be lifted over a 50-centimeter wall, which is then capable of traveling a straight stretch of 50 meters as fast as possible, using power which is entirely self-contained within the vehicle. Now, this power could be manpower. We would be pleased and award rather more marks if the power source was in one way or another constructed from the bits and pieces which can be derived from the parts mine. Now, the one thing they're not allowed to use is the petrol engine itself. The more people the vehicle can carry, the better.
I don't know anything about these things.
Construct a new vehicle, is it? Construct a new vehicle. Huh? To go hard. Engine, take the engine out and the axles. Over a standing start over a 50-meter course. The new vehicle must be powered through its wheels. Nothing else may contact the ground during the race. It must be light enough to be carried to the track over a low wall, half a meter high.
Jock, what are the special merits of the 2CV?
Well, Heinz, most modern cars don't have a chassis. They're just a stressed skin construction, but the 2CV is probably the lightest car that's available to us, which still has a chassis. And indeed, if you undo a few selective bolts and put a few pounds force onto it, you can lift the body off entirely, and that leaves the chassis behind, and that looks like a rectangular pan, which is perhaps like that, and at each corner you have a little arm, and each arm is holding the wheels, so that the vehicle will now look in plan a little bit like that. Of course, it still has an engine and gearbox, and the gearbox is connected up to the wheels, and luckily you've still got some means to steer the car if you wish.
So we have these three rather nice shiny cars, but in case we should be accused of profligacy, there are in fact three pretty elderly specimens which have been resprayed in order to make them look nice for the program. Now, Jock, there are goodies. I remember when you got out of the car, you announced that there were goodies in the boot.
Indeed, yes. Well, we've supplied a pretty comprehensive set of tools, socket wrenches and the like. There's also a spare battery, and because the cars are fitted with an alternator, we've, for good measure, given them a DC dynamo which will run as a motor if you put a battery across it. So that and jacking equipment, they've got quite a lot of gear to
And
work
I've
on.
noticed even that they had some extra little nylon wheels which might come in useful.
Indeed, yes. Just in case, we've given them nylon wheels, as you say.
Well, we've also supplied some human resources in the form of an engineer from Citroen's who's going to advise the teams on how to take the cars to pieces, because some of the parts could be mildly dangerous of taking to pieces inexpertly. And because we foresaw that cutting and welding might well be a technique which we wanted to use, there's an experienced welder with all his equipment on call who will perform specialized jobs for the team.
I think probably, Heinz, the biggest single difficulty that the teams will have to contend with, apart from undoing rusted up nuts and bolts, is the weight, because even without the body, this chassis with the wheels weighs something like 1,300 pounds, and it would be just too much for three people to lift. And of course, as you've said, they have to lift it over a low wall. So they will have to do an incredible amount of removal of excess material. Anything that's in any way superfluous to the object will have to be removed. Tell you what, shall we go and see what they're doing?
Actually, I wonder if we'll have to wear safety belts.
Hey? Oh, it can be. Or was it a chick, 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 chick? We don't want to see where we've been, do we? We want to...
Terrible. Right, gone now, Jim. We don't need shocks on this thing, do we? We don't need shocks on it. Oh, hang on. Do you want this?
Well, you seem to have made a lot of progress here, and the more you take off, the more you see what you really have. Has it altered any of your ideas now that you see what there is?
It has a bit. We've sort of got. We think we have a weight problem. The engines are much heavier than we thought it might be.
Yes.
So we're looking at sort of ways of either using the transmission that's there, using the starter motor to propel it, or stripping it out and building our own transmission.
Is it too early to say what's the next thing you're going to do?
Go back to the manual, I think.
I see. Right, I'll let you do that.
Thank you.
Well, gentlemen, I see you taking a well-earned rest. You appear to have got down really to the chassis and the wheels. Now that it isn't enough. You've got to power the thing in some way.
Yes, we're opening power it for the starter motor through the gearbox.
So the gearbox, and you've managed to retain the starter ring on the flywheel in some way.
Yes, we'll have to weld the flywheel onto the shaft of the gearbox, the spigot shaft.
So you'd have to have what is effectively the front axle and so on as well.
That's correct. Yeah, we'll be keeping the steering as it is on the car, but from there back will be our own chassis, light.
And are you reasonably confident that whatever you're actually going to lift over the half-meter obstacle, like the two?
Yes. Oh yeah. Yes, it'll be light.
Be no heavier than the body was.
No.
You managed to lift the body off.
Fairly light.
Yeah, we lift it up.
Do you think you can carry all three of you on this?
Oh yes.
Because we're going to give you extra mark for being being able to climb yourself.
You can have a ride as well as right.
I'll take you up on that. Thank you very much. Everything you've seen so far actually happened yesterday. The team spent 3.5 hours pulling their cars to pieces and mining for bits which might prove useful today. We then made them stop, and they've had a night of invigorating sleep. Now with their intellects honed to sharp edge, let's see what they intend to do today. Now, what was your reaction yesterday when you first had the problem posed to you?
Total shock.
Horror and surprise.
Now, having had your night's sleep, are your plans in any way more crystallized to what you actually intend to do today?
Yes. I think the yesterday was used mainly for getting an overall idea together, and last night we were able to sort out some of the finer details so that this morning we hope to get on quite fast.
Right, well, let's see. Now, how about you? You've also had your night's sleep, I hope.
Yes, we have. Very pleasant it was too. Our plans are pretty much the same as they were yesterday. We spent yesterday taking the car to pieces and taking stock of all the components available, and set forth on a plan.
But as far as your conception of what was actually going to be happen, has it changed overnight at all?
Overnight, slightly.
Yes, we just chewed over the fact of what we done yesterday.
But you're still going to use the starter motor as your main source of propulsion, are you?
Main source with some secondary secret device.
I see. Well, it's a secret, of course. The others listening here, we must let this go. Now, you've really worked jolly solidly last night. How about your conception of today?
We're basically the same. We've added a few things after thinking about it last night, and I think we'll have enough power to do the job.
Now, are you going to pay any attention to a bit of embellishment, decoration?
Right, providing we get time, we will.
Right. Inside the hall, the test track has now been laid out, and Jock Smith is waiting there to demonstrate it to us.
Here's the course that our contestants have to negotiate, although it's dead straight for 50 meters, as you can see, and if you're my age, that means it's 161 feet long. But not only do they have to cover the course, they have to mount their vehicle, they have to get the vehicle over this wall, which is 0.5 meter high, or 20 inches, if you would prefer it in imperial measure.
That chassis is just about long enough. Just going to have enough trail, isn't it, I think, at that length.
I think so, yeah. If we take it any shorter, it's going to start spinning around.
Yeah, we have directional problems, aren't we?
With that cutting, what are we going to do? Get rid of this now?
Yeah.
That's going to be the thing.
I'll go down and have a look at the plates on the bottom.
And the casters...
Use that Dexian straight across, yeah, to strengthen it. It should
So
be okay.
So the biggest problem is really going to be speed and actually lifting the thing over the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to fit the Dexion on there, okay?
I think, as there are three of us, the obvious way to lift it is one on each side and a handle on the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have one on the back to get over the wall.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
got the seat belts for the front. Yeah. You can stick those through on the Dexion or mount those.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry, get in. Come on your feet. Stand under the front and under the back.
It's now getting very close to testing time, and we're going to have a look at the sort of state in which the cars are at present.
I find it much easier to lift.
The red car appears, at least visually, to have reached the further stage of development. It's distinguished by the fact that whilst retaining the two front wheels, they have removed the back wheels completely and substituted a pair of nylon casters. This mightn't be so good for cross-country, but will do for our flat track.
Well, Johnson Matthey with the yellow car have elected to do virtually the same as the red car uses, in that they're using the fitted transmission system, the gearbox, and the starter motor. So in that respect they're the same, but they have made two rather vital changes. They have turned the car into a three-wheeler by turning round one of the suspension arms, so that the single rear wheel is roughly in the middle of the tracking of the vehicle, and also they have another rather odd feature in that the steering tiller, if I may call it a tiller, pokes right through the front seat. So it would be an interesting thing to see just exactly how they intend to drive it. Well, Henry Quarry in the blue car, they have retained the original wheels. In fact, they've not only got 4 wheels, I suppose they've really got 5 wheels, because they still have the starter motor. And there they are, trying their car out. What do you think of that transmission, Heinz?
Well, the transmission is different from the others. They are using the starter motor, but on top of that, they've also mounted the dynamo. In fact, the dynamo electrically modified and having a field resistance, which is actually one of the headlamp bulbs, driving the gearbox through a belt. Rather mystifying to me, they've actually got a transmission which appears to be a ratio in the wrong direction, coupling the dynamo to the gearbox. But it seems to go all right. Time's up. All work has stopped, and the dreadful moment of test has arrived. But first the scoring system, which for once is almost delightfully simple. We should time each team for the full 50 meters. The team which scores the shortest time will be awarded 100 marks, the second team will score 75 marks, and the third team will score 50 marks. In the rather unlikely event that a team should not complete the course, they'll be awarded 1 mark for every meter of powered propulsion. In addition, of course, the judges will have their usual 25 of discretionary marks for elegance and engineering excellence. Right, Jock, we are ready to go.
Right, the first team today, Henry Quarry, driving the blue car. Oh. Yes, bring it back so that the back wheels are on the wall, can you? Splendid. That's fine if you like to climb aboard. Here we go then. Ready, steady.
Seconds. Dave, this appears to be a very good time, but still we have no standards of comparison. Let's see how the other teams do.
And the second team to take part in this contest is Johnson Matthey, and they're driving the yellow car.
Can you get... Right, are you ready for this? We go over the wall, will we? Over the wall.
Yes, yes, having demonstrated that the brake operates.
Everybody ready? Okay.
There we go. Not easy.
Have you go. Hey, go on. Hang on. Right. Okay. I'm going to come inside.
Steady, steady, steady. Well done. Right, can you get the rear wheel against the wall? Yeah. And climb aboard. And I think we're all ready. So here we go. Ready, steady.
Okay.
The yellow team beat the blue team and did the distance in 15.4 seconds. So at present they're the winning team.
And finally, from Kidbrooke School, we have the red car. Also using the brakes. Very elegant looking. I see. Very good. Oh, yes, seat belts on. Yes, we note. Oh my God! Are you all ready then, lads? Here we go. Ready, steady. Won't start. had some delightful touches there, Heinz, but unfortunately they did incur a time penalty at the beginning. I thought they couldn't start the engine for a moment. 26.4 seconds.
Well, being rather late starters, this is 26.4, but I think this was all so delightful that I think it would be an idea if we had them all racing back again.
Here, here. And finally, to round this evening's contest off, a real race between the three contesting teams. Are you all ready? Here we go then. Get ready, get set.
And now for the final marks. The blue team completed the course in 18 seconds, came second, and therefore scores 75 marks for being second. And for you, Jock?
Well, Heinz, I like the car because it does have a steering wheel, and it's the kind of thing that I might even drive myself. And I thought that exhaust was delightful, so I'm giving them 20 marks.
It means the blue team, that's Hendrik Wallis, scores a total of 95. Next, Red, the Kidbrooke School, they were the slowest, so therefore they came third as far as the race is concerned, scoring 50 marks on that account.
Well, I thought they showed incredible skill at the end of the race, the way they slewed the car around, and they did try very hard, so I'm going to give them 18.
Now this gives the red team a total of 68 marks. Finally, the yellow team from Johnson Matthey, they were the fastest, completing the course in 15.4 seconds, which incidentally is equivalent to an average speed of 11.7 kilometers per hour and a final speed, on certain assumptions, of nearly 14 miles per hour, that's 23 kilometers per hour. They score 100 for being the fastest.
And I thought that they enjoyed it so much, and that was so obvious, that we should give them an additional 15 points.
So they score a total of 115, and on that score, they win today's competition. Come and join us for another omelette next week. Good night.